Hey guys, this is Keith Harley, trichologist and hair and scalp specialist. So I know you all know there's a lot been going on since yesterday, since the Cancer Institute put out some information when it came to chemicals and hair dye and things of that nature. I've been getting hundreds of calls. I've been getting emails. I've been getting questions. I've been getting inboxes, all sorts of things. So I thought maybe I would address this issue and my feedback about this report that's coming out. So number one, let me just do a disclaimer. I am a licensed cosmetologist. I am a studying trichologist that has been in the business for 35 years. I'm not a medical doctor or an MD or a dermatologist, but I do specialize in hair and scalp disorders based on my studies of hair and scalp over the past 35 years, and work very closely with dermatologists, things of that nature. So I just want to make it clear I am not a medical doctor. However, based on studies and a lot of the things that we've come across over the years and working with dermatologists from around the country and getting my studies and working with the Association of Dermatology and the Cancer Institute, I found it important that we address this issue because not only are we hearing from the community and we're hearing from women especially about chemicals and straighteners and things of that nature, but we're also hearing it from the hairstylist part, asking questions on what to do, how do they handle this situation, because this happened before. Quite a few years back, there was a movie that came out that talked about, hair crack and what chemicals will do to your hair and scalp and so on and so forth. And that created a lot of myths and a lot of questions that people had, and people really didn't understand how to address this issue and they became scared. Well, now something else has come out and people are wondering, oh God, what do I do? What do I do? So, and when I'm talking about these issues with, when it came to, when this movie came out years ago with Chris Rock, and they were talking about applying straighteners and relaxers and things of that nature. Let me just be clear with you. If you are going to a professional, and they have their license in any state to do your hair, they know the proper procedures on how to apply any chemical whatsoever. They know what to do. You can interview them. You should talk to them. You get there, make sure they have their license and make sure that they know what services are right for your particular hair type. So let's just talk about this for a little bit. First of all, there was a study that came out from the Cancer Institute, and it was the sister study. Now, let me just read to you what the sister study is. So, the sister study, what is the sister study? The sister study is conducted by the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, one of the National Institutes of Health of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. From 2003 to 2009, more than 50,000 women across the U.S. and Puerto Rico who were between the ages of 35 and 74 and whose sister had breast cancer joined this landmark research effort. Listen to this. Join this landmark research effort to find causes of breast cancer. Because of their shared environment, genes, and experiences, studying sisters provides a greater chance of identifying risk factors that may help us find ways to prevent breast cancer. The sister study is currently tracking the health of women in the cohort. Participants complete health updates each year, as well as detailed questionnaires about health and experiences every 2 to 3 years. Research in the sister study focuses on causes of breast cancer and other health issues in women, as well as on factors that influence quality of life and outcomes after breast cancer diagnosis. So if you're just tuning in and you heard what I read, rewind, listen to what I explained to you about what is sister study, okay? So these are family members or people that were related to them that had breast cancer, so on and so forth. So they're trying to do studies to see environmental things that could affect or help people, or it could be a possibility that people get breast cancer. Okay, so that's where this study came from. Now, on yesterday, December the 4th, there was a report that came out. Let me reread this report to you. Women who use permanent hair color or chemical straighteners have an increased risk of developing breast cancer. In this study was found. The study published online December the 4th in the International Journal of Cancer, including breast cancer risk increased with more frequent use of these chemical hair products. Now, let me explain to you what that means. Okay, but let me read on just a little bit more. The research team with the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, part of NIH, used data from 46,709 women in the sister study and found that women who regularly used permanent hair dye, listen to the words, permanent hair dye, in the year before the study, were 9% more likely than women who didn't use hair dye to develop breast cancer. The increased risk was greater. Listen to this. The increased risk was greater for African American women using permanent dyes every 5 to 8 weeks or more, was associated with a 60% increased risk of breast cancer, as compared with an 8% increased risk for white women. The research team found little to no increase in breast cancer risk for semi-permanent or temporary dye use. Let me repeat that. The research team found little to no increase in breast cancer risk for semi-permanent or temporary dye use. Researchers have been studying this possible link between hair dye and cancer for a long time, but the results have been inconsistent, said correspondent Alexandra White, head of the NIEHS Environment and Cancer Group. In our study, we see higher breast cancer risk associated with hair dye use and the effect is stronger in African American women, particularly those who are frequent users. The scientists also found a link between chemical hair straighteners and breast cancer. Black and white women who use straighteners listen to this, black and white women who use the straighteners every 5 to 8 weeks were about 30% more likely to develop breast cancer. Although the risk was the same, study pointed out African American women more likely to use chemical straighteners. We are exposed, now listen, this is very important to listen to. We are exposed to many things that could potentially contribute to breast cancer. Let me repeat that. We are exposed to many things that could particularly contribute to breast cancer. And it is unlikely that any single factor explains a woman's risk. All right? While it is too early to make a firm recommendation, it is suggested that you make sure that you go to a professional and that the application is done correctly. so that there is a reduced factor. So these are very important statements. Number one, the study was done with the sister study. So these were women who were already in this study that in their family, they had cancer, breast cancer, okay? Number two, the study also states that it is more likely for these people who had this problem, their family members had cancer. All right, that's in the study, okay? Then what they're saying is making sure that when you use the chemicals that they're being used properly. Sidebar, there was less to no risk with semi-permanent or demi colors. You heard that. Okay. So, as a cosmetologist, as a trichologist, and someone that has been working in this field a long time, let's get to first the chemical straighteners, because this has been an ongoing issue. When someone is applying, a hairstylist, first of all, those of you who are doing your services at home or going to people who are inexperienced, this is when you've got to be particular about where you're going to get your hair done. Go to a professional. Go to someone that you can interview, someone that has history in doing this business, someone that has been properly trained. That's number one. Number two, when it comes to applying chemicals, it is always important to make sure that your stylist or whomever is doing your hair are applying a base or scalp protector, okay? Any of my people that come to me or my hair and scalp clinic, we always put a scalp protector on the scalp before applying any chemical. We make sure when it comes to color, when it comes to relaxers, when it comes to straighteners, when it comes to perm, we put something on to protect that scalp, okay? Then, if you go deeper into the study, it says you cannot continue to leave the product on too long. Go with the timing base. Don't let it sit. Don't let the person apply it and just let it do its own thing. Make sure that you're getting proper application. So, and then making sure that there is a barrier between the scalp and the hair. That's where the scalp protector comes in, okay? So these are some of the things you need to pay very close attention to. What I would suggest, until further studies come out, is to be as cautious. Make sure that your stylist or whoever your service provider is doing the proper techniques, making sure they're using the proper product. Those of you who sit there and say, that's why I went natural because the chemical messed my hair up. No, it's not the chemical that messed your hair up. It's the person who applied the chemical or is using the chemical on your hair. Every product is not for every head. So when people do a strand test or they do a test on your products to make sure that the product is the best product for your hair, a professional can determine what type of product to use or if that product is best for you or whether you can take it or not. I get people who are coming to me who are suffering from hair loss. Sometimes it's over-processed. Sometimes it's under-processed. Sometimes they shouldn't have had relaxer anyway. It just depends on your hair texture, your hair type, and what are some of the things that you're doing. A lot of people come to me and I have to make sure high blood pressure. People on blood pressure medication, that changes the texture of the hair, can dry it out. There are certain relaxers or straighteners or colors that you cannot use when you suffer or from high blood pressure or taking blood pressure medication. That's just another factor. Some people who suffer from thyroid disorder, that is another issue. There are a lot of factors when it comes to whether they should be using chemicals in your hair or not, whether it's color, straightener, relaxer, or whatever the case may be. And if you're going to the right professional, they will know. So the same way that you interview a doctor, interview your stylist. If you go to and maybe you want to go to a trichologist or a dermatologist first to determine what would be the best thing to do and when it comes to styling your hair and what type of chemicals and things that they should use in your hair. So I want you to be mindful of that. There's a lot of information that is starting to come out. There's a lot of people asking questions. There's a lot of people panicking, talking about, oh, Dr. Harley, I can't show my gray hair. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? There are a lot of great semi-permanent colors that are out there. There are a lot of rinses that are out there. There are a lot of alternative things that you can do to maintain your hairstyle to what you want it to be. And those of you who choose to go natural, or whatever the case may be, those are choices. Those are choices that you're making based on your experiences and what you decide to do for yourself. Okay? So we're not going to say one thing is worse than the other, or this is bad or that's bad, because listen, I'm in the beauty industry. So I'm not only talking for you as the consumer, but I'm talking for us in this profession. If we're doing what we're supposed to do, and we're being educated, and we know that when we do a consultation with that client before they get any type of service whatsoever, they will know what product they can use, they will know what is the best chemical, whatever the case may be, and then last but not least, they will know how to apply it correctly. So those of you who have questions, look more into the studying, and don't always listen to the media, the news media. You know, they're going to make it a little bit juicier than what it has to be. So get to the details. Understand that if you're going to a professional and they're taking care of you the right way, then that can avoid some problems. If you know some people that are in the study, if cancer runs in your family, or you've got a sister or someone that runs, because most of the study was done with the sister study. So you got to listen to the factors. So one of the things you want to pay close attention in those genes and so on and so forth, that could probably enhance it. We don't know, and I don't want to be quoted on that. Because again, the studies are still inconclusive and they're still doing more studying. So pay attention to who you're going to. Pay attention to the application that they're making. Pay attention to how they're servicing you. Pay attention to where you go. Kitchen beauticians, if they're not licensed or have had proper training, be mindful. Remember, the hair is connected to the scalp is connected to the body, all sorts of things. So you're just working with the body. So you got to make sure that these people understand the licensed cosmetology, or the person, they understand the anatomy. All of these things is what we're trained for. So you just got to be mindful of that. So that's my input. Be mindful of the information that you're hearing. On social media, they're going to juice it up a little bit. Get the right information. Have a conversation with your service provider. Make sure they're doing the right things when they're applying the chemicals or styling your hair or whatever the case may be. Don't panic. You don't have to change anything right now. Those of you who are in that sister study or feel that that's something that's affiliated with you, then take a look at that. But just be mindful of who you're going to. Again, this is Dr. Keith Harley, trichologist, hair and scalp specialist. I am not an MD. I am not an MD doctor. I'm not a dermatologist. I'm a trichologist and licensed cosmetologist who have studied hair and scalp disorders for quite some time. I work very close with dermatologists and doctors, and these are the things we work with in the Dermatology Association. And we talk about when it comes to cancer. We talk about when it comes to thyroid disorder. We talk about scalp disease. We talk about all of these things and study all these things. So we're ahead of the game, and we got the report just as you did. Well, we got it a little bit before you did, and we knew it was coming. So be mindful, do your research, make sure you work with some great people when you're getting your services, and don't panic. Just get resourceful. All right, guys, if you have any questions, put it in the timeline. We'll answer your questions. And remember, we have a a hotline to answer your questions at 1-844-HAIR-DR1. That's 1-844-HAIR-DR1. And you can give us a call. We'll answer your questions for you. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll be keeping you updated on all this information on a regular basis. I have had some conversations with some dermatologists and some MDs, so they're going to, and oncologists, so we're going to come on live and meet with you and tell you what our input is. We are working with the medical community to make sure that we get you the best information possible to help you with these types of issues when it comes to hairstyling. I want you to just be mindful. You have the beauty industry, and we've been in this business a long time. So don't panic and call your hairstylist. Just make sure they're doing the right thing. Okay, guys, have a fantastic day. If you have any questions, look us up. Take care. Enjoy your week. Oh, and happy holidays.